Because misogyny. What else can we say? What's up, guys? I'm Devin Harrington, the average Gen Xer, and welcome back to my channel. I thank you all for your patience because I was kind of under the weather this week and did not release a midweek video, which I always feel really bad about when I don't keep to my OCD schedule. But I live in Austin, Texas, as you might know, and it is scientifically proven to be the allergy capital of the world. Allergies are so bad down here, and always have been in the 26 years I've lived here, that people actually call in sick to work because they have allergies, and it's like a legit excuse because it's so horrible down here. Anyway, the mold has been really high. That's what really kills me, and I just didn't have it in me this week. Anyway, now I'm back, and we are today going to look at a bunch of posts on the illustrious Childfree sub that are all discussing the age-old topic of child-free women and men, but particularly women, being told that if they do not want to bring more kids into the world, they are selfish. And there is really nothing worse than being a selfish, self-absorbed woman. How dare you not have as many babies as your body can withstand? So I never understood that. And I grew up in a family where I was never pressured to have kids. I think I kind of made it obvious from the time I was born that I had no interest in having kids or even getting married, and I was put here to help the animal. But all my life, even if my family didn't tell me that, society at large and people I came across all through my life out in the world who happened to say, "So when are you going to get married? How many kids do you want?" And when I would just stare blankly at them and look like, "What are you talking about?" There is literally nothing I would rather do less than have kids. So why does that make people think if you don't want to have kids that you're selfish, particularly as a woman? Because the woman, as we all know, is the one who has to sacrifice her body, her self-sufficiency, her ability to do much of anything. She's the one that has to endure all the physical pain. She's the one that has to endure an 85% chance of your hoo-ha ripping while you give birth, which makes no fucking sense if it's a natural thing. Anyway, I am getting off on a tangent, as I tend to do. So let's just get right to these posts and see what these Redditors who are child-free have to say about all of these breeders calling us selfish. But first, this is the part of the video where I beg and plead with all animal lovers out there to please consider fostering or volunteering on site for your local animal shelter. This is my current foster, little Goldie, and she is almost 5 months old. She's a shepherd mix. She has been medically cleared by the vet to be available for adoption. She came into the shelter as a stray with a fractured pelvis a couple of months ago. And thanks to the shelter system and me being able to foster, now she's healed up. She's doing great. She's learned how to be a puppy dog. She's got a dirty nose because she was digging in the mud because we got rain last night. Anyway, it's not as hard or as expensive or as time-consuming as you might think it is to foster. And volunteering on site at an animal shelter is like the world's best-kept secret to happiness because you can turn an animal's life around in an hour with your love and affection and attention and care. So if you love animals, please give it some thought. Just look up the website of your local animal shelter and see what they're looking for because they would love to have you. All right, thanks. Okay, first post here is from user Shaking My Head at Everything. Love the name. And it gets right to the point in stating the obvious that the title, "Having Children is Selfish." And this user says, "I find it so odd that child-free people are labeled as selfish for not wanting the burden of having children. It's completely backwards." Yes, I agree. I personally would love children. I adore them, but I love them so much that I would never have one. And here's why. In life, you are guaranteed suffering. Amen, sis. You are. If you don't suffer in life, you're not doing it right. If you don't suffer in life, then you're probably laying on your couch smoking weed all day, accomplishing nothing. And I say that as someone who used to do that. Anyway, she goes on. You will fail. You will get your heart broken. You will pay taxes. You will grieve, etc. Happiness is not readily available to the majority of people. And I might interject here. Happiness is fleeting, the pursuit of happiness. It's in America, we just think we need to be happy all the fucking time. And that's not reality. We all know the famous saying, money can't buy happiness, but I would also add that it can buy freedom. And that's what everyone's trying to buy with it. Happiness is kind of neither here nor there. You're happy sometimes, other times you're not. If you weren't unhappy, you wouldn't know what it was like to be happy. She goes on. That being a literal fact, bringing children onto the earth on purpose is almost cynical. You're essentially forcing someone into a world they never asked to be in, to make yourself happy so you can cuddle a baby? Exactly. How do children bring happiness? Exactly. Is it because they kind of look like you or they kind of act like you and your ego gets a fucking buzz from that? I mean, what? She goes on. So it can take care of you when you're old? Yeah, there's like the freaking number one reason. And it should be said probably that in all of human history, there probably was a need to have someone take care of you when you're old. But nowadays, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that your children are going to want anything to do with you. I mean, do I fucking need to tell my poor grandma's story again? I have told it a million times on this channel that my grandma had 6 kids and untold numbers of grandchildren and told all of us, all our lives, whatever you do, don't put me in a nursing home if it comes to that. And where did she die? Alone, in bed, asleep, in a nursing home. So this whole bullshit about who's going to take care of you when you're old, who's going to guarantee that your children are going to want anything to do with you when you're old? You're forcing someone toward pain and destruction for some weird temporary happiness. This is a brilliant post. Shaking my head at everything. I love everything you have to say. And then parents have the audacity. You have to say it like that. I mean, she's got it in all caps, so she clearly wants me to say it. And then parents have the audacity to form unrealistic expectations for their kids and complain when they don't reach those goals. Yeah, there's more suffering you bring on your children because you have certain expectations of them that they need to be this, that, or the other. They need to be straight. They need to get married. They need to have kids. They need to be a doctor. They need to be a lawyer. They need to accomplish some fantastic thing. Oh, and they need to take care of you when you're old and feeble. They complain about providing for children that they asked for. Yeah. How about it? That is one of the 20th century's stupid notions that needs to die. And I say that as someone who my own mother, who is a sincere product of the mid-20th century that she grew up in, she thought that the fact that her and my stepfather fed, clothed, and sheltered us made them parents of the year. Like, how fucking low is the bar out there? You had children so you could bitch about how hard it is to raise children? That makes no fucking sense. That is 20th century nonsense. Everybody move on. She goes on. Like, that's not their one fucking job. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I actually said to my mother, and, if you want me to burn in hell for this, fine. There is no such place. But I said to her, did you think you were going to have the kind of kids that didn't need to eat or live in a house or wear clothes? I mean, did you think you were Just going to sit around and have all the good moments of childhood, see your kids smile and walk for the first time. Oh, but they can just stay, tied out in the backyard. We don't need to actually do anything for them. How dare they have needs? That's the 20th century version. How dare your kids need anything? Don't they know that you are too stressed out trying to raise the kids that you asked to have to deal with any of their needs? I mean, the whole thing is fucking ridiculous. And maybe it made sense until about the 21st century, but now that the world is vastly overpopulated, yes, I will die on that hill, probably with a bazillion other people surrounding me because the world is overpopulated. We don't need to do this anymore. There are plenty of people that are still going to have kids. If there is a child-free movement, let us be happy being child-free. She goes on, with the current state of the world, climate change, overpopulation, food shortages, it is even more ridiculous to bring people to this earth. Amen, sis. As a human, you can't avoid taking up more energy and space that's becoming scarce as it is. I think child-free people are doing the most responsible thing for the planet, regardless of their motivations. Exactly. I don't know. Next time someone tries to bingo you, tell them they're forcing people to be alive for their own enjoyment, and hopefully they'll shut up. Well, I wouldn't hold my breath about them shutting up, because the breeders have a gazillion and one excuses as to why you should have children, and all of them are selfish, in my humble opinion. Just a reminder, this is my channel, it's my opinion. If you want to fight with me in the comments, I'm all for it. Freedom of speech. Ask Blonde 907 said, ask anyone who has kids why they decided to have them. Guaranteed, their answer starts with, I wanted. And there, the selfishness is right there. Yeah, someone, anyone, please explain to me a logical, valid reason why a child-free woman like myself, who is just paying my taxes, working, being gainfully employed, doing my hobbies, helping animals, minding my own fucking business. How is that selfish? I am not torturing some man by having kid after kid after kid and demanding that he support us all. I am not bringing children into the world that I am not prepared to take care of. I mean, we all watch a shit ton of true crime these days, right? And, however you feel about true crime, it's just human nature to be curious about why people do what they do. We have a need to understand. I mean, that's what separates us from every other species. We want to know, what is this? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? And so I watch way too much sad children crime. I don't know. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. But, are you saying to all the people who think people who don't have children are selfish, are you saying that the woman who has children willy-nilly with multiple people, or even just with one person, but is having those children for the benefits that they bring, meaning the social services benefits, because that is a problem in our broken system, they're not selfish? The person who gets knocked up and didn't want the kid, and so she gives birth on the high school bathroom floor and throws the kid in the trash, but she's not selfish. She had the baby. The woman who has a baby and she can't take the screaming and the noise, and so she just puts the kid in a stroller, straps them in, puts them in the closet, and leaves them to rot and die. They're not selfish? I mean, come on, somebody tell me a logical reason that explains how not adding to the world's problems is selfish. Okay, soapbox rant over, let's move on. Someone who deleted their account said, this is what I've been saying. Knowingly growing a child to bring into a world full of overpopulation and suffering seems selfish to me just because you want the so-called completeness. And here's another, man, I am on a fucking tear, okay? I turned 55 a couple of weeks ago, and I don't give a fuck anymore. So I'm just going to spew what I have to say. Whoever's listening is listening. Um, Completeness is like a made up thing in the movies. You complete me. There's no such thing. You are a complete and whole and perfectly complete person when you are born. No one else can complete your life. That's your job. Okay, let me move on. The OP said yes, and the completeness doesn't even happen. Completeness doesn't come from outside of yourself. It makes more sense to nurture your current relationships than to create a new human to achieve completeness. And in my opinion, the reason that so many people still think, well, I have to have kids or I won't know real love, whatever the fuck that means. I have to have kids or my life won't be fulfilled, whatever the fuck that means, is that's what society has brainwashed us with. That's what Disney has beat us over the head with. That's what, all of the patriarchy has indoctrinated us to because misogyny. What else can we say? Okay, this next post is from Lady Grace 19, and the general consensus seems to be from child-free women who are told that they are selfish by breeders, is the title of this post, which is No, You're Selfish! And I couldn't agree more. Lady Grace says, I'm sure a lot of people have heard the comment, you're being selfish, when saying they're child-free. I had a thought about it, and I wanted to share. Generally, when I ask people why they're child-free, they say, I don't think I'd be a good parent, or I just don't want to bring a child into the current environment, or I have mental or physical health conditions I don't want to pass on, or I just don't want kids, and it wouldn't be fair to have them. Whereas, when I ask people why they do want kids, they'll say things like, I want kids. They make me happy. I love kids. I want to be a mom-dad parent. Notice all the I statements? So the child-free person is actually thinking of the children and doing the right thing by not having them because of their beliefs. And the people who want kids are going on their feelings of wanting kids and loving children and wanting to be a mommy or a daddy. And then they end up on the regretful parents sub because they didn't really think out what they were doing. She goes on, in my opinion, having children is the most selfish thing you can do. Yes, in the 21st century, I agree. Particularly 21st century US, absolutely agree. Just because you want it, or it makes you happy, or fulfills some desire, you bring an entire life, a human soul, into the world. Most child-free people I know think it wouldn't be fair to potential kids to have them. Yes, that is true. I have said many times on this channel that I personally have been pregnant 3 times when I was younger, despite all my efforts at birth control. Some people are just really fertile. I think most of us know someone who's gotten pregnant while on the pill or some other situation. And if I had had those kids, they would have had a miserable life because I couldn't stand the men who fathered them, which is why I eventually broke up with them. And I was too young and too broke and too unprepared in every way, not to mention the fact I never wanted kids. And that has got to be normalized because, ladies, no is a complete sentence, as we all know. And I don't want kids should be a full statement and no one needs to question it. So let's normalize that. She goes on. Most child-free people I know think it wouldn't be fair to potential kids to have them and are willing to risk potential regret because they know they'd resent their kids and it wouldn't be fair. I, at least, completely fail to see how that's at all selfish. And Lady Grace 19, I am in complete agreement with you. Maleficent Ends Curse commented, guess what? I don't care if I'm selfish. Absolutely. Yeah, but that's another thing. See, I talk a lot about 20th century notions, and that's just my observation. Like The whole if you don't have kids, you're selfish is an outdated 20th century notion, because in the 20th century, particularly in the US after World War II, we know we had the giant baby boom because there was government money for buy a house, go to college, blah, blah, blah. Everything was cheap. But that's not the world we live in anymore. And back then, if you told a woman you're selfish for not having children, most women would be so upset about that. I don't want to be selfish. I want to be a good girl. I want to contribute to the world. And in the 20th century, women were brainwashed, just as they were throughout human history, to believe that their womb is the reason they are alive, and that producing babies is their purpose in life. Well, that's bullshit. Maleficent End's curse goes on. It's my choice and my body to do with, and not yours, to see fit as what you want. If you want to keep popping out kids like rabbits, have fun, but leave me out of it and leave me alone. Yeah. Yeah, the whole I'm selfish thing, like, it doesn't play the same in the 21st century, particularly in the US. I am in the US. Most of my viewers are in the US, so that's why, obviously, I have that view. But nowadays, you have to be fucking selfish in the United States in order to survive. So the whole lifestyle thing of having kid after kid after kid because the check gets bigger, and that's the only way you can afford to raise children is if you get paid by the state to stay home. That system is broken. That needs reform, yes. And before anyone jumps all over my ass, I think the corporate welfare is a much bigger problem as well. So just, I'm not picking on anyone who has to be on government benefits. I am very fortunate to have never done that because abortion was available to me. KJ Whimsical 91 said, those who think they have the luxury to have a large family of kids have the minds of rabbits. Yeah, well, I mean, I do always use the caveat that if you are someone who has always wanted children and you are so excited to be a parent and you are prepared and you have educated yourself and you have Googled the fucking shit out of what it's really like to have a baby, you should have kids. If you got the money to have 25 children, go for it. If you can support them all and give them all good lives. What you can't do is break yourself up and give each of those children all the attention they need to grow up to be well-adjusted. But, it's all about the money in this country these days, which is why telling women that they're selfish to not want kids, who fucking cares? Mop My Musubi said, I have responded, why are you acting so selfish over my life that isn't even yours? Good response. And it's a good question to ask. Like, why do people with children have any concern about other people not wanting children? I mean, I have a concern about too many people wanting children because the world is overpopulated. Everything is too expensive. There are limited resources on this planet. We need to give the planet some breathing room. Just stop breeding indiscriminately. Blah, blah, blah. But how does me not having kids affect anyone else's life in any way? It doesn't. It's crazy. Freaking crazy. Okay, last post for this video, and there are so many great posts on the Childfree sub about this topic that I will have to revisit it again. But for today, here is our final post by user GlassTie3297, asking the question that we all want the answer to. How is it selfish to not want kids? And they say, I genuinely don't understand why people say that choosing not to have kids is selfish. Selfish to whom? The kids that don't exist? Isn't it selfish to impose your desires on another person? Isn't it selfish to want your child to have children just so you can have grandchildren? And by when are you going to give me grandchildren? You're not going to just have a baby and give it to your parents. They just mean, when are you going to go through all the trouble and expense and torture and physical and mental misery to have a baby so that I can take care of it for a couple hours once a week? Or whatever, or less. I mean, it makes no sense. Isn't it selfish to have kids so you'd have someone to take care of you later in life? Yeah, seriously. You just had that baby and that's what you're thinking about? Well, someday I'll be old and feeble, and so I have this baby so that it will grow up and it will wipe my ass for me when I need it. I mean, how fucking selfish is that thought? Not to mention unrealistic. Isn't it selfish to want your bloodline to continue? Or vain, at least. Yeah, it makes no fucking sense because nobody gives a shit about what your last name is. You know why? Because there's too many fucking people in the world, in my humble opinion. Isn't it selfish to tell someone that they should go off their medication to have children? Yeah, people do that. People that have serious mental illness and need to be on a variety of medications, women that have serious mental illness, and are told, well, you need to stop taking all that medication so that you can then additionally make yourself even worse by getting pregnant and bringing a squalling, screaming little worm into the world that you are then responsible for. And then you got to get back on your meds and you got to just not complain about any of it. But at least you will have the fulfillment of having a baby. Man, I'm on fire today because I am pissed off. Okay, she goes on. While choosing not to have kids does come with more freedom and less responsibility, I don't think it qualifies as selfish. Selfish is defined as lacking consideration for others. But does it count when the others in question don't exist? I find it so frustrating when my family members call me selfish for choosing to be child-free and infantilizing me despite me being in my 30s and arguably one of the most successful people in my family, I'd say in the top 3 across all generations for this particular branch, and that's not hard to do. Yeah, that's another thing. Another outdated notion is that women who have not given birth are not emotionally mature. But the 14-year-old that has given birth is emotionally mature? Someone please explain that to me. Everyone else had children young or without intention and had no plan. Isn't that more selfish than making sure I don't have a child without careful consideration? Isn't that more selfish than making sure I don't have a child without careful consideration than finding being child-free to be the most responsible decision? This whole thing makes no sense. It's just like a 20th century notion that's been repeated over and over and over and over and still hanging around. No, it's not selfish to not want children. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. If you're from a hyper-religious family who expects you, because you are female, you are a domesticated animal and you must be bred every year. No. That's just child abuse. Shameful. Should be illegal. Yeah, hyper-religiosity should be illegal. Someone who deleted their account said, they're just mad we don't suffer with them. And there is a lot of truth in that because, as we all know, misery loves company. And parents of particularly young children or resentful parents or parents who just didn't know it was so hard, they want to see everyone be as miserable as they are. And they don't like it that some women are too smart to be caught in that trap because women are not supposed to be smart. They're supposed to be uneducated so we can keep them barefoot and pregnant. And if you don't think that that is a massive reality in the 21st century, that the patriarchy is fighting for control, fighting to hang on, you haven't been paying attention. Someone else who deleted their account said, yeah, having a child by accident or having a child because your family wants you to and not you is way worse. I don't know what they mean by selfish. Yeah. See, none of us can figure out what the hell do you mean, selfish? What I think people with kids who tell child-free people they're selfish actually mean is that the child-free person is enjoying their life without kids too out in the open, and that makes the breeder feel bad. And so they need to mock the child-free person and put them in their place. And it's just all nonsense. Endo is a nightmare said, it seems to be a universal acceptable ad said, selfish is having children without the means to support them. Yeah, how about it? Unfortunately, this happens all too often in the UK. Well, you should come to the US, ma'am. Endo is a nightmare said, it seems to be a universal thing. It drives me nuts. If you live in a country with access to abortion, so you have a real choice, and you are poor, you should never have kids. How selfish is it to force your children to live in poverty just because you wanted to play with babies? Exactly. Get on fucking birth control and go volunteer at the neonatal unit in the hospital. You want to hold babies? Go volunteer at a children's shelter. There are untold numbers of children's charities that need help. You want to know what it's like to be around kids? Do that before you make the stupid decision to have your own kids, especially when you can't afford them, because there are plenty of rich people who are regretful parents as well. It's not just about money. Pomegranate Fun said, even where abortion is not an option and access to birth control is also non-existent, having sex is still a choice and people can decide not to. Having kids is absolutely a choice without exception, unless the person in question is a victim of SA. And that's what I have for you today, guys. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I am dying to see what kind of lively discussion comes up. Usually when I put out content specifically about child-free women, I get a lot of haters coming out to tell me how miserable I'm going to be when I die alone, as if the value of your life is contained in the number of people watching you die standing around your bed. That's another 20th century bullshit notion. Oh my God, I am way too fired up today, guys. If you made it to the end of this video, I thank you so much. We are just about to 2,500 subs. I would love to get to 3,000 subs before the end of 2025. That is my little pipe dream. But in any case, I thank you all for hanging out with me, listening to me talk shit on the internet, and getting into intelligent and funny discussions in the comments. So let me know your thoughts, and I will see you guys in the next video. And thank you so much.